Did you know that between kindergarten and 12th grade that students in the United States take an average of 105 standardized tests? Student testing is a hot button issue in America today, with some parents wanting to opt out of testing because they feel their children are taking just way too many tests. Hello everyone and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Robert Trainum. Joining me today is Dr. Michael Casserly. He's the Executive Director at the Council of the Great City Schools. Dr. Casserly, welcome to the program. It's always good to see you.
Thank you.
So, what's interesting about this debate is that I think everyone wants their child or children to do well. We also want to measure their performance to make sure that we are taking care of any educational deficiencies that they may have. But the question becomes, is there too many tests?
Well, it is a good question, and unfortunately there isn't really a standard for what's too many tests and what's not enough tests. 105 tests does sound like an awful lot of tests, and we do know that because we've now done a comprehensive inventory of all of the testing practices in the major city public school systems across the country. So there are about 105 tests that kids are required to take over those grades. In total, there's about 750 tests that we've been able to identify across all of those systems. But there's nothing that actually says that that's too many, that's too few, or that's about right. I think it's kind of a judgment call on a lot of people's part about whether or not we're spending too much time on assessment, whether or not it's telling us the right thing, and whether or not it's really taking away from instructional time.
Dr. Casserly, you hit on something that I want to elaborate on, is that some teachers that I've spoken to over the years, they're saying, you know what, it's too many administrative hurdles that we have to jump through. We're teaching to the test. We don't have enough time, literally, to teach the classes or the courses in the test. Some parents are saying that, they want the teachers to teach to the test and so forth. Is there a happy medium here?
Well, I think there is a happy medium. I think what the parents most want is to make sure that their child is on track. They're heading to being ready to go into a career or to graduate from high school and go to college and to be prepared for the world. I don't think that necessarily means teaching to the test or saying that tests are the only way to measure how my kid is doing. On the other hand, it's a good objective measure for determining whether or not my child is doing okay.
Most recently, the United States Congress passed the reauthorization of the No Child Left Behind Act, very controversial for many years, both on the parent side, but also on the teacher side. How do you come down on this debate?
Well, the Senate just recently passed the renewal of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and there is some language in there that tries to curtail the amount of testing that is done. And I think that is a result of some of the debate about whether or not there's too much testing or there's not enough testing. And I think the Senate's response in many ways was appropriate. On the other hand, when all we do is to cap the amount of time that's devoted to testing, it makes it easier to ignore questions about the quality of the assessments, whether or not the assessments are used for the right purposes, whether or not they are actually aligned to standards that we are all confident in. So there's lots of other questions left on the table after one caps the amount of testing time.
And Dr. Casserly, all these questions that are left on the table, is that something that your organization tries to find answers to and perhaps maybe seek a collaborative conversation about?
We are, and that's one of the reasons that we are doing this broad inventory of testing across all of the big city public school systems, because we wanted to add some objective evidence to the conversation about whether or not there was enough or too much testing, and then to provide some guidance, some recommendations, some proposals about how to make the assessment system in the United States a lot more coherent and intelligent.
Dr. Michael Casserly, thank you very much for joining us and keep up the great work. It's always good to see you.
Good to see you.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Robert Trainum. Have a great day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.